Hey there, and welcome to this behind-the-scenes look at a mock interview for the product type question for PM interviews. Again, these are not rehearsed. I'm asking these questions to myself and doing just a little bit of prep work so that you can get an inside look at what a right PM answer might look like. I hope you enjoy. Before I jump into the answer to this question, I'd like to ask you a few questions. First of all, what do you mean by smart? The interviewer responds that smart means something like something that involves a technological upgrade, so using technology to make that a better product. Great. My second question is, are we targeting a specific customer segment, or is that something that I can choose? The interviewer responds saying that, yes, I would like to see you pick up some customer segments and choose the right one. Lastly, the last question that I have for the interviewer is what are we bounded by when it comes to shoe? Are we thinking of something that goes on the foot that is an external kind of unit, or can we imagine smart boots or other sort of different kinds of footwear? The interviewer responds to keep it to shoes. So shoes, not boots or hiking boots. Or rain boots or any of that sort of thing, just keep it to shoes. But you can be a little flexible. Okay, I'm going to take some time to think first about customer segments that I might go about thinking about a little bit more. And then after I pick the customer segment that I'm interested in, and the user, basically the user that I'm interested in, we're going to drill into the user needs and really understanding how we can develop a product that can target that user needs. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Please just give me a few moments to think about this problem. Okay, great. So I have three customer segments that I'd like to discuss with you that I think are particularly good target segments for this product. The first one are users who care about fashion. So shoes, while they are functional, are very much a fashion product. And I think that there are a large number of people that want cool looking shoes or great looking shoes. So what if we use technology to augment what shoes could look like? One thing I'm imagining is that we can put LED lights on the shoes, as well as maybe some screens, some simple screens that can display little graphics or logos. These might be fantastic for children where they can program their own little logos and maybe have an educational experience on learning a little bit of programming and designing, as well as being able to personalize and customize their shoe to look really cool. Of course, it would be a little concerning if school children and classrooms are flashing all these lights, so we need to watch out for it. But basically what I'm trying to get at is that there is a potential here for a user segment that is interested in upgrading their fashion sense. And I think it's particularly useful around children who are maybe more open to these ideas and want kind of these flashy, fun little gadgetry toys, shoes basically, that kind of act like toys. Whereas it might not be as great of a customer segment for someone in the business world trying to look very professional. So that's one customer segment. The second customer segment that I'm interested in discussing is one around athletics. So there are elite runners who are really focused on having a great running performance. So how can we target those runners and really create an awesome experience for them that helps them perform better? And I would say that the key thing that we would want there, the key user need, is that real running athletics want to run faster. So can we design a smart shoe that helps runners run faster? And I'll talk about that more if we go ahead with that customer segment. The third customer segment that I would like to discuss is one around the elderly. So I think, increasingly we're seeing a need for, help with the elderly, especially as they live alone in America, and, they are not taken care of by their children. Maybe having a smart shoe that could dynamically change temperature, comfort, and as well have a little bit of a tracker, a GPS tracker in it, could help in case, especially an Alzheimer's person, a ridden person would be lost or, stuck. It's kind of different. So shoes are great because shoes are something that a user will always remember to put on. But a watch or a life alert badge and things like that are not necessarily so. Shoes, I think, are uniquely positioned to be in this space because unlike clothing, which you change out all the time, shoes you wear more frequently. It's more common to wear the same pair of shoes multiple days in a row. And it's, in fact, one of the only articles of clothing on a body that follows this suit other than glasses. And glasses would not be large enough to really put some sort of gadgetry in, but shoes are the perfect size for that. So there's a real potential here for having something that could really benefit an elderly population here that wouldn't otherwise want a smartphone or a life alert on them. Great. So we've discussed these three. Now I'm going to take a little bit of time actually to go through it and think about which customer segment I'd want to move forward with. So I'd like to move forward with the athletics customer segment. The fashion customer segment, while interesting, there's a lot of variables there, and I don't trust us to create a fashionable product. If we went down that route, I would want to partner with a fashion brand like Nike or maybe like Adidas or even kind of a premier fashion brand to really make that product. But there's so much variability there that it's not a great decision for us to go into, I think, because it's really hard to kind of define what exactly that will look like. Again, for the elderly population, I think that's also a great customer segment, but I'm a little skeptical that the elderly will even buy this shoe. And upon reflection, elderly people still have multiple shoes, so it would be hard to convince them to buy a whole suite of these shoes. Additionally, there might be kind of constraints around those shoes, like you can't wash them or you can't do certain things to them, and they have to be connected to a Wi-Fi signal and all that sort of stuff, which would be a little challenging for an elderly person to set up on their own. So while I think it's a great idea, it seems like there's a high barrier to entry for elderly people to actually get a functional product. So I'd like to focus on the athletic category. And again, the user need here is how can we make runners run faster? We want to sell a shoe that helps runners run faster. And that's the key insight that we want to develop here. That's our product vision here around this shoe. And so all the products or the features that we come up with will try to target that specific problem. So I'm going to take a little bit of time now to kind of brainstorm some of these features that we might come up with here. Okay, great. So I have a few key components. Obviously, the hardware of the shoe would need to be light and comfortable and all that sort of thing, but what we're interested in talking about is the smart capabilities of it. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do. So very simply, I think the key aspect here that can be really, really helpful is tracking this runner and giving useful analytics to the runner so that they can run faster. So in this case, tracking the running form might be one useful thing to start with. You can detect if the shoe kind of tilts, or if the runner isn't running or landing his or her feet effectively. And you can use this tracking analytics to inform the runner, hey, this is where you messed up, this is how you can improve, and even recommend kind of adjustments to their shoe if needed, or adjustments to their running form or their strategy. It can tell you if it's the left or the right foot. So really detailed, rich analytics on how a runner runs and where the issues are. Maybe as they go around the bend in the track, there's a particular issue, kind of with landing their feet on the right side because they're running in a tilt and things like that. So we can expect a lot of things to kind of come up here that might be really useful for the runner to provide actionable insights. And we can even imagine monetizing later if this links out to a Dr. Scholl's or whatever kind of high-end running performance modular shoe pieces might be involved here. The next one would be that I think is really interesting is ghosting. So in a track, if the runner runs around one loop of the track and then runs around it again, we can evaluate and compare performances between the two. The way we can do this is the smart shoe can know when the runner has started on the track based on a period of inactivity followed by a period of high intensity activity. Then the shoe will know to track that period. The shoe can track the steps. It can also track, the pace of the steps, and a variety of useful information as the runner goes around this. We can even hook into the weather, into a few other variables that might be relevant for the runner's performance. And maybe if the runner uses MyFitnessPal, their diet, and things like that. But at the very simple level, it can track the pace of the steps and when the steps hit the ground, as the steps elevate, and kind of the arc of the runner, assuming there's an accelerometer in the shoe and some high-tech tracking materials or sensors. And once we kind of get that one lap pattern, so now we have the runner running in one lap, we can do it again and compare that second lap against the first lap. And we can even compare days against each other and all these sorts of factors. So now what we're doing is we're building a machine learning model that can really tell, based on these variety of factors like weather, diet, maybe how their positioning is, do we see increases in running performance? And can we really bump up those seconds, for that runner? So I think this is a really exciting one because there's also potential to compare to famous people. So, maybe, really famous runners, Usain Bolt can do this with his running shoes, post his Ghost online, and you can race against Usain Bolt. You'd probably lose by a huge margin, but it would still be kind of a fun experience where you'd run, you get to open the app and get to check against your friends or check against famous people. So there's a really great aspect here where you can provide a competitive aspect and kind of encourage people to compete against each other and encourage you to run a little bit more. Now, keep in mind, this is an emergent property of this design. This is not our original goal, because our goal right here, our product vision, is to focus on helping runners run faster. But there are added benefits to this tool. I think that this ghosting platform, combined with tracking the running form and giving specific analytics, can really help kind of figure out how to help runners run faster. And just in case there's any clarity, what I mean by ghosting is just imagining as if there's a little ghost of you running around racing you. So you're kind of comparing yourself against the ghost of you or against the previous version of you that's running around the track. This is common in kind of other, a common term in some other games and running competitions. So I think that these two platforms, two features, ghosting as well as tracking running form, in combination with being a light and modular shoe that you can add, and change the comfortability as needed, will really help these runners run faster. And I could see this, really going to market with Olympians starting out there when they're training, they can use this shoe, but then maybe also to the marathon runners and triathlon runners out there who are really excited to improve their performance. So I think this has a really big potential to really improve and maybe break some records worldwide of running speeds. So great. That's my product design question. I would say that, if I had to mention two things about what I'm kind of concerned about this product, I would say that one, I would really want to make sure that all these sensors that we're adding to it don't bloat the shoe and make it really big so that it's actually not a good shoe anymore. And secondly, I would also want to make sure that this is all precise and that I can hook into all these tools as needed, because if it's not precise, you kind of lose the whole value of the shoe. So I would watch out for those two qualities when building that shoe. But otherwise, I'm really excited to make this smart shoe an awesome product. Great. So that was my answer to the smart shoe question. It was a little brief. Normally I might go into more detail, but I'm using this as a little bit of an exercise for you. The other thing that I would say is that you can go into a little bit more creative categories. The ones that I covered were not as creative. It would be really great to hear about fashion ones or about shoes for babies, or maybe if you were to do boots, how would you do boots in a really interesting way that could provide some value. But for the most part, this is a great question and a great answer. The last piece that comes to mind that I would recommend changing is drawing a little bit more. I didn't draw, I don't have a whiteboard behind me, but if you can draw up some of these insights and some of what that dashboard looks like and how they pull that information to the user, that would be really a useful addition to that question. Great. Well, I hope that exercise was helpful, and good luck on the product question section.